Well, good morning, and thank you for joining us today on our Historic District Stroll. We're walking through downtown Douglasville and visiting some of the fine people who live in some of these great homes that we've got in the Historic District. Our first stop today is at 8566 Campbellton Street with Pat and Jim Smith. Thank you very much for inviting us.
Well,
Thank
we're
you, Mr.
glad
Mayor.
you came, Mayor.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you today and talk a little bit about your beautiful home.
Well, we both love living in downtown Douglasville. I was raised around here. My grandparents lived over on Brown Street. I have a great uncle who worked at the mill when it was in full force back in the 1940s. So I've been around here all my life, and I've always loved this home. I used to drive past it when we lived over in Arbor Station, and I just always glanced over here and looked at this home. And in 2000, the homeowner who had been renting the home for several years decided that she was going to put it on the market. And it had to be providential because I was driving down Campbellton Street and she was coming out of the door with the sign, for sale sign.
Is that right? So
Yep.
you stopped her from putting it up?
I turned around and came back and I was like, oh my gosh, you are putting this house up for sale. We talked for a few minutes. I said, take the sign back in and let me see the house.
Is that right?
I've
What a story.
always loved it. And then the barn in the back, that was my big selling point. I love our over 100-year-old barn back there. We're really trying to preserve that. That's a big piece of history here in Douglasville.
Sure, and this was, I understand, a farmhouse in Douglasville, and that was the original barn.
It was. And it's really interesting. We have a picture that one of our neighbors gave us that was when the house 2 doors down used to be the old city swimming pool. And you see women in the swimming pool, and that was in 1912, and our barn is in the background. So,
Is that
yeah,
right?
it's
That's
wonderful.
amazing.
Wonderful.
Are there particular architectural features that led you to choose this particular home? or-
We love it because it does look like just like you see them out in the country. The old farmhouse with the porch. You know, we expect to see the cattle coming around the side any minute. The front of the house, we always say, you feel like you're in the city because you're on a busy street and all of that. You can sit on the porch and wave to neighbors, and people see us out in the yard, and they're always blowing the horn at us. But you go to the back porch, the screened-in back porch, and have the barn and the woods, and you feel like you're in the country.
Like
So
being
it's
in the
excellent.
country.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you said that you and Jim had lived in Arbor Station, which was really the first planned unit development that was in Douglas County, as a matter of fact. How did you choose the Historic District to be your new home?
Well, when we lived in our first home, I was transferred to Virginia. We lived in Richmond for a year, then moved to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and then I was transferred back down. Well, actually, Pat moved back down here first, and it was, as she said, it was ironic. She was driving down the street. We knew we were moving back here. At what point, we didn't know. And she found it, and she says, Jim, I found the house we're going to buy.
But I forgot to tell him there was a little bit of work we had to do to it first.
Well, there always is with
Yeah.
homes, and you've done a
Always.
great
And
job
then your
keeping this one up.
grandparents in Pennsylvania, he's from Pennsylvania, and tell him about that house that they lived in, which was similar except 2 stories.
It was it was a 3-story house, and it was the old northern, even old Europe. The house sat practically, you stepped off the porch and you were on the sidewalk, and your neighbor was probably about that wide enough for a gate that you could go between the houses and get into the backyard. There was no front yard.
But that was more the historic area of Hanover, Pennsylvania. And he always loved his grandparents' house and being right on the sidewalk and the busy street and everything. And so I'm a big history buff, and as you know, I'm big on historic preservation. I think we really, really, really have to preserve what we have.
Sure.
My barn is a good case in point. I mean, I'll fight anybody over that one. It's just always been in my blood. I love the historic district, and because my family has lived here, I've always wanted to be here, and I'm just very happy to be right where I'm at.
Well, and you've worked hard. I know you served on our Historic Preservation Commission, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
We appreciate y'all letting us stop by today. We've got a group of folks, as you can see here, a wonderful group, and we're walking around Douglasville and visiting people, fine folks like you, that live in the historic district.
Well, and we always love our neighbors coming by to see us.
Yep.
That's right.
Miss Paget, Shelley.
Well, it certainly was a pleasure joining you today as we stroll around Douglasville. Would you care to join us on the next section of our tour?
I'm going to take you up on that offer, Mr. Mayor, but I believe Jim has something that he has to do. He can't, but I'm going to take you up on the offer.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that.
Yes.
Okay. This house the property was sold and owned by Young Van Zandt. And his property joined it, and so he sold it to the James family.
You know, get some of those tax dollars.
Isn't that great? Now you see
chimneys,
that?
aren't those beautiful?
See that?
Yeah, is that-
And see that there's only one other house in town that I know that has those.
I've never seen one.
See
If I saw
that?
it, I didn't recognize it.
No, that's typical of what they would have had in Bath, England, in the
Right.
1500s. So why someone just came to Douglasville and put that on two houses?
They
I
might
don't
have made a
know.
trip there or something and decided that,
So
you know,
decided they
yep,
wanted to build
that's what
one.
they wanted.
But
But
the-
that place is going to be gorgeous when they
Yeah,
get it renovated
it's
and
gonna be
finished.
great.
Well, you know, it is very difficult now to find a mason that knows how to build a real masonry chimney.
Right,
And
right.
so to try to build that, you probably would
yeah.
not be able to find someone.
Well, I don't know if that'll be a functioning fireplace when they finish with it, but they'll leave the chimneys though.
Oh, yeah.
I'm fascinated with those
Yep.
chimneys. Okay.
Oh, I see
All
we
right.
have more neighbors up here. Let's
Oh,
go up
yeah.
the
All
street.
right.
More neighbors are coming.
My granddaughter could work.
Well, we're on our next stop on the tour, and we are at 8545 Price Avenue. We're at the wonderful, beautiful home, if you look at it behind us, of Marcy and Josh Gibson. Thank you very much for coming out and talking with us
problem.
today.
Thanks for coming by.
Yes, thank
Thank
you.
you.
And I understand that your home, well, I know it did because I remember seeing you guys work on it so long and so hard, needed a lot of repair.
Yes.
When you first moved in, and you put a beautiful addition onto the home also. And can you tell us a little bit about what you had to do to the home?
Sure. Well, the story is Josh and I got married in September of '04, and my grandfather owned this home, Donald Bennett. And I asked him if we could maybe just clean up the house a little bit for our wedding reception. And he came back about a week later and asked if we would want to live in the home. And when Josh and I came through the home, we looked at it, and our immediate thought was never, no way, because there was too much to be done. But then we kind of started thinking about it and realized the potential, and got to work. And that was January of '04 that he asked us, and we wound up purchasing the home from him. And in September of '04 we got married, so it was 9 months that we did a complete restoration of this home. Took it down to, you know, the lathing strips, took all the plaster down, and put new sheetrock and insulated the home.
New electrical, new plumbing.
Yes.
So it was kind of a 9-month dash
Yeah,
to that
to
finish,
build a new
to
house,
that finish
sounds
line,
like.
right? To get married and actually have the reception at the
Yes.
home. So.
Is that, well, it looks beautiful, and I know Mr. Bennett remodeled a lot of the homes in the downtown area, and not just in the downtown area, even in some of the commercial buildings. And I know you had someone that was really knowledgeable to learn from and to
Right.
show you some of the tricks of the trade. And I've looked, you know, your home's been on the tour, and I see it's on the spring tour of homes this year. We appreciate you doing that. And it's very obvious when you go in the home, all the things that you had to do. And I don't know how you learn how to do all of those things.
Well, I think you just said it. We had a good teacher, and that's
Yeah.
it. Kind of we've taken on a couple projects since then, and it's just something that we have a passion for now.
Sure.
And this was a big family effort, you know, not just my grandfather, but Josh's parents and mine, and even aunts and uncles would come for work days. So it just makes us that much more proud of our home, knowing what kind of love went into it.
Well, as you start your family, and there's always a decision you make on where you're going to locate, and you're in the historic district. Was that a part of your choice in raising your family in the historic district, or can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I think it's definitely something I'm excited for our boys to experience as they grow up. I mean, for us, this is probably arguably one of the prettiest parts of town, being in the historic district, and obviously the variety of architecture that exists in our historic district. So I don't know if beforehand it was a conscious decision, but now that we're here and we kind of have this passion for the historic architecture and homes, I'm glad that the boys will experience this growing up.
Sure. And you're just a short distance from the plaza, the downtown
Right.
area, and you mentioned the beautiful part of town. It certainly is. Price Avenue intersects, if you go directly up, it intersects with the plaza, and at Christmas time, when all the Christmas lights and
Right.
everything, it's a beautiful street. It really is.
It's great. During the summer, we have the concerts on the plaza, and we can always hear the music. We can sit on the porch and listen to the concerts from here. And I mean, it's a great area.
You can
Right.
just stay
Right.
at home. Well, thank y'all for what you've done. Thank you for allowing us to come by and talk with you, and thank you for sharing your home with others. Each year you do that so graciously and inviting folks through and letting people look at your wonderful home, and we're very proud of this home and proud of what you've done.
Thank you.
Yeah. It was good seeing you today. And thank y'all for joining us on this stop. So it says, I think this is right, but you'll have to check with Miss Paget.
Right. That's right. That's exactly. Well, you know my reputation, though, don't you, Mickey? I'm the oldest female who can still stand on my own 2 feet and remember what I had for breakfast.
Well, I hope I can say that.
Yeah, I'm sure you can. One I planted in 1992, and it was about this high when I planted it.
Right.
Look at those.
Look at the big
Crows.
crows that
You know what
Hey,
this
if they
is?
scare anything off, I need some of those in the lake.
This little house was in such bad shape it was falling
It was
in.
condemned,
There was
actually, I
even
think.
some rags in place of broken windows. And so they took it as far down as the city would allow them to and built it back.
We went in there and I said, well, who builds a wall right down to the bathtub? So if you were sitting, if you were sitting in the bathtub,
I remember
your
when they
feet
did
could be
that.
down here and you couldn't see them because the wall was right
They built
there.
it. They built that.
Who in the world did that? I don't know.
Dad, I remember when it was done.
It was crazy.
I remember.
Well, welcome to our last stop on our walk around the historic district today. We're at 8556 Bowden Street, the beautiful home of Ms. Renee Cale. Thank you very much for
thank
allowing
you.
us to stop by and talk
Thank
with you today.
I appreciate y'all stopping by.
Well, it's our pleasure. I understand that this is your second renovation in the downtown area. The home almost directly across the street was your first renovation, and it's a beautiful home. So is this.
Well, thank you.
But I know it's a labor of love when you do that, and it's a tremendous amount of work. But what made you sell a beautiful home already, buy another one, and go through the whole process again?
Well, when I bought the one across the street, the plan was to stay there for like 3 to 5 years and build up enough money to build me a home on my family property out in Winston. But I got up here and I fell in love with the area and the convenience of walking to town and restaurants and shopping and all that. So earlier in the plan, I'd been there only across the street only 2 years when this one came up for sale, and I walked in and fell in love, and I love the old homes, the characters and the character of it, the quirkiness, and just you don't get the kind of quality of millwork and stuff in the newer homes that you find in the older ones. The plaster walls, all the things that are so hard to keep up.
To fix and
That's
repair.
right. To
and
repair, to
things
keep
like that.
up. Yeah.
And how long did it take you to do the restoration?
The bottom floor I did within like 9 months because somebody talked me into being on the holiday tour of homes.
Oh, yes. Probably part of this group that's with us
Yes,
today.
someone with this
We won't
group.
mention any names.
And then once I did that, I was able to finish the upstairs. So it took me basically about 2 years. Now the outside still needs a lot. I've got a window project planned for this year, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, reglazing. So yeah, anyone that wants to help with that's more than welcome to come by and help. I could use all the help I could get.
Now, I know you are the president, chairman
Yes,
of
chairperson.
the Historic Preservation Commission, which approves the changes and all the things that are done to homes in the downtown area. How does that work with being a homeowner and being the president of the organization? Does it help, hurt?
A little of both. It helps me because when someone comes before us for a certificate of appropriateness, I can empathize with what they're going through. Owning one of these homes myself in the district, I know that the challenges that they're up against, and I know the difficulties that it is to try to fix your home, but then fix it within a set of guidelines. But then also it kind of hurts me in a way because I'm neighbors with all these people.
Sure.
And when someone comes before you for certificate of appropriateness and things are just not right and you have to kind of guide them in a different direction or just tell them, that's not going to work, then it kind of makes it difficult, next time you're out planting flowers and somebody walks by, hey neighbor, how's that project going? So it's a plus and a minus in certain ways, but it's better. I think the pluses outweigh the minuses because it helps me, know what they're going through.
Sure. And I know the City Council has worked with the Commission so that homeowners have a wider range of products that they can use and make it easier and less costly to renovate the home.
Yes, there was some recent changes in the guidelines which kind of brought in the availability of the newer products that are on the market today. The green products, the more energy efficient, which when you use those products, it helps with you get tax breaks and all that stuff. So the changes in the guidelines have helped us bring in the newer products.
Well, great.
And help the homeowner out a little bit.
Well, thank you for coming out and talking with us today.
Welcome.
And Don, I understand that you know a lot about the history of this house and some of the people who lived in it before. Could you share that with our audience today?
Gee. Yeah, well, I know a lot about a lot of these houses, but this one, a Justice of the Peace lived here. And many, and we lived right up the street. So many Saturday nights, young couples would come and they'd get mixed up. Several times they knocked on our door and my daddy would go to the door. No, it's right down the street there. And so one night, this couple insisted that our house was the Justice of the Peace. And Daddy says, no, this is not the Justice of the Peace. He's down the street. He shut the door. They rang the doorbell again. He opened it up. He said, if you all insist that I'm the Justice of the Peace, I'm going to bring you in the house and marry you because I want to go to bed.
So what did he do? Or what did they do,
I guess? They better come down here if they wanted to be married by the Justice of the Peace. But, that seems so strange. But that was a Saturday night ritual sometimes. Young couples would want to get married, and they didn't have to get a license early. In advance, right, eloping. They go to a Justice of the Peace. So we had a lot of people stop by.
You had a lot of activity here on Bowden Street.
Well, Douglasville has not had that lack of activity, I can tell you. It's been a wonderful street. Because, Willie the Upshaw lived in this house up there, and he was the man that ran for president.
Right.
And he was actually nominated. And he got very few votes because he ran against Franklin Roosevelt.
Yeah.
But he was nominated, so we have some history.
Not too many cities in the state of Georgia can say that.
Oh no, absolutely. So anyway, but thank you for
sharing this with us today, and thank you for sharing it with our audience today.
Enjoyed it.
And thank you for joining us on this tour of homes today. We have some beautiful homes in the downtown area, and we have very proud homeowners. Several of them are with us today and came out and talked with us and joined the tour. As we visited other people in the neighborhood. And we thank you for joining us today on City TV.